Warn you on News Talk 1080 WTIC.
We must be getting them bills paid. Anyway, we are back. Teresa on the radio, News Talk 1080 WTIC. And our guest joining us, friend to the room, and State Senator Rob Sampson is on the line. How are we doing, sir?
I'm doing great, Reese. Got to get my energy level up to talk to you.
Yeah, man. Listen
you
to
do
me.
such a great job.
Yeah, forget about the Red Bull, man. You got to come in like, coffee'd up. That's all it is, just straight coffee. So you've got a lot of things on your plate right now, and I can imagine with the way things are going in Connecticut. And I know you got some things that you want to talk to. I'm going to get to those because we got to talk about AG Tong. We got to talk about FEMA money for illegals. We got to talk about Bob Duff and the sexually explicit books inside the libraries. Those things are important. But I want to get to some business just recently. So I know you heard about this little shindig that Blumenthal and Murphy had in West Hartford. I know you're aware of this. I know people have been sort of banging down your door about, hey, what's going on with that? Did you guys know about this? And what was your response to, if any, to that little powwow they had at Derry Public School?
Honestly, the first time I heard about it was yesterday on Tom's show, actually, where I heard it was mentioned, and there was a suggestion that me or some other prominent Republicans should go there to that event, and it just struck me as kind of an odd thing to say. I mean, what am I supposed to do? Go and heckle somebody? It doesn't make a lot of sense. I mean, certainly, I think that you couldn't have two worse U.S. senators in office anywhere. Right. And I've been after Blumenthal and Murphy since the beginning of time. These guys are the finest examples of the woke mind virus at work. They have been promoting bad government since they've been in office and probably before. And we've got to do everything we can to stand up to them. I just don't know that that's the right mechanism. I know that when people come to my town hall meetings and they try and heckle me, certainly you're going to look foolish as an elected official showing up at somebody else's event. I encourage people to do it. I want people out there on the street to go and challenge these elected officials on their policies, tell them why you disagree with them, and get them to explain, how that's going to benefit any of the citizens of Connecticut on a day-to-day basis. And I think that they'll be at a loss for words.
Let me ask you this. Do you find it odd, because I'm pretty sure you guys have pretty much done the autopsy on that event. Does anybody find it odd that during that event, no one was asking about Connecticut's issues with its leadership, like the Pura issue, the fact that people have seen exorbitant rises in their electric bills, talking about illegal immigration in no way other than to protect them? Did you find it odd that the people who were there seemed to be just on this tilt about attacking, if not thwarting, Donald Trump's national plan locally? Did it not make to me, that doesn't make sense. Why would Connecticut get together on a national platform when there are things that are clearly happening in Connecticut that relate to them?
Right. I mean, I can't speak for the people that attended that event.
Sure.
I mean, I know their usual modus operandi is to make it an echo chamber. They purposely invite their own people, and they fill the room with people that are of like mind so that they can promote their agenda. And their agenda obviously is to whack Trump and whack Elon Musk and Doge and everything else. And of course, every second that they do it, they're making our jobs easier because they're just illustrating just how averse they are to good government. I mean, These people are out there defending bad government and waste and stupid programs that nobody in their right mind agrees with. And the more they do that, the better, in my view.
Couldn't agree with you more. That leads me to my other question about talking about the national campaign. I get an impression, and I think a lot of people share this with me, that Connecticut Republicans do not embrace Donald Trump, even though we are seeing a groundswell of support for him. For the first time, in 8 years, we ended up getting a Donald Trump store in Vernon. We are seeing more and more people showing their broad support for the president in ways we didn't see before. People used to be very shy about it. But a lot of people have complained on this show that there isn't enough of that support of Donald Trump here locally. Are you witnessing something different, or do you think there is a apprehension?
This is a really good question, Reese. And the problem with this question is I need an hour to answer it.
Okay.
I mean, I've been involved in Connecticut politics forever. And I can tell you that the problem I think for most people is that they view the Connecticut Republicans or the Connecticut Republican Party as one thing. And it's not. I serve in the Senate Republicans. We are independent of the House Republicans, and we are independent of the state party. And I will be honest with you, there is almost zero conversation between those bodies. Wow. What we're doing has nothing to do with the state party. People ask me about Ben Proto all the time. Honestly, I consider the state party virtually irrelevant. I mean, they have a role to play, I suppose, in the picking of candidates on a state and federal level. They have not done a good job with that. But as far as the decisions that we make in the legislature about what issues we're going to take up and how we're going to go at the Democrats, they don't have to play a role at all. And I can tell you that.
Well, hold on. Let me stop you there, because I almost feel like there's an issue there. I know you're saying that they all operate as separate bodies, but wouldn't a remedy to that be some sort of defining unity? Am I wrong there?
No. I mean, I believe we should have a party platform in Connecticut. I believe it should be a Republican platform. I believe we're obligated to support our, standard bearer in the form of Donald Trump. Sure. And that's where I've always been. I've been the leader of the conservative movement in the state. I've been at odds with the establishment. I've been at odds with the state party. I've been at odds with the leadership of the House and Senate Republicans for many years. But there is a big change occurring, at least in the Senate Republican caucus. I can't speak for the state party. I think that they're obviously reacting to Republicans across the country, and certainly right here at home in Connecticut, being thrilled about the actions of our new president. Yeah. And, and of course, they're definitely on board now, where maybe they weren't so much on board in the past. I mean, you have candidates running for governor in the state of Connecticut who were absolutely anti-Trump, and now they're, trying to change their tune. So I'm glad to see people come on board. I wish that they were with us, when it mattered, but I'm glad that they're on board now.
Why are you getting so much pushback on the whole Ben Proto thing? As you said, you're really not associated with that, but why do you keep getting questions about them? Because many people believe, I'll give you one example, many people believe that, Proto should be replaced. I don't think that's in your hands, but why is that such a thorn on the side of Republicans in Connecticut? If you have an opinion on that.
No, Reese, the frustrating thing for me is that the people that are, speaking about this issue, I'm with them 100%. And I get frustrated when they're attacking me like I'm somehow part of the problem. I've been with them forever, trying to change the nature of the Connecticut Republican Party so that we are a fierce operation that knows how to win and stand on Republican principles. We've had this battle in our state forever in the Republican Party between the establishment that believes we have to moderate our positions to win and those of us that are committed to American values and Republican principles. And, it seems like every time there's a big push, who we're going to run for governor, et cetera, it's like, oh, we have to choose the moderate candidate. We can't run a conservative. They can't win. Well, I think what we're learning, especially in the most recent, elections that we've had in Connecticut, primary races for U.S. Senate in particular, we're learning that it is the soft Republicans that cannot win. And maybe we should actually put some conservatives in place so that they have a chance.
You know what? It's one of my biggest gripes about leadership and, of course, the party in general. We're on the phone with Senator Rob Sampson, the 16th District. Let me ask you this, Rob. And again, this goes right into that. So another complaint, and people are, again, this is what the audience always talks about, is that there's a lot of go-along to get-along Republicans because in their view, and in fact, I'm not even going to leave it on them. I won't weigh them down with what my particular purview is. I kind of believe, and I've seen this with the Mitt Romneys, I've seen this with the Jeff Sessions, I've seen this on a national level, that many Republicans are concerned about their press, concerned about their, let's just say, involvement with party politics or writ large the body politic in general, who will not push back on a conservative level and in some cases look the other way as Democrats sort of have their way with the state. Are you noticing that? And what's the remedy to that to at least alleviate the concerns of people who are in the state who kind of feel like they're not truly being represented by a Republican Party in the state?
Well, I can't alleviate their concerns 100% for sure. And okay. I will tell you that this has been my concern since I've been in office. I formed the Conservative Caucus, which is a group of House conservative lawmakers to push back on the House Republican leadership maybe a decade or so ago. I mean, that's where I'm coming from. I'm coming from the same place as your listeners who are frustrated with a Republican Party that doesn't fight. And we still have that problem. I think we still have that in the state party organization. I think that needs to change. I do believe it is changing in the legislature, though. I mean, I would say that out of our what do we have? We have 10 senators, and I think we have around 50 representatives. What's that, 60 people? I'd say we have 4 or 5 people that actually count as strong conservative Republicans. And that's sad. But I will tell you that more and more of them are coming around all the time. I think that they are starting to realize that they can actually go out and tell people who they truly are on the inside. Look, I wish they were there and willing to fight 5 years ago when Biden was in the middle of his, stride.
Yeah.
But they're coming along now. We have to embrace them. We have to get them to come along and be willing to, we're at the tip of the spear here, Reese. The woke mind virus I mentioned is being quashed at a federal level. But here in Connecticut, the Democrats still have a huge majority, and they are trying to move their agenda with incredible vigor. I mean, every day they're out with some crazy nonsense. And it's our job to crush those embers before they turn back into a fire.
Let me tell you, I think, and I've noticed this, and this is my job to be observant of this, and it's not just here in Connecticut. I see this in plenty of states, and states that I've lived in and some that I'm familiar with. I always check the cycle, like the news cycle. I always check the media cycle. And there's one pattern in Connecticut that drives me through the roof when it comes to Ned Lamont, William Tong, or even Bob Duff, for that matter, since we're going to be talking about them. I see this sort of Republican response to what they're doing. And my biggest problem, being a guy who's been in the public relations, like I worked for a guy by the name of Angelo Ellerby, who's going to be a guest of mine on Friday. And he worked with Mary J. Blige, DMX, Michael Jackson. He's worked with some big, Dionne Warwick. This guy taught me the art of getting press. What I find odd about the Republican Party is that they shouldn't be responding to what Ned Lamont is doing. They should be questioning what Lamont is doing and forcing him to have to respond. William Tong should be made to respond to the ails, if not the concerns of the people of Connecticut. So I think that Republicans need to have a take charge approach in the media that are saying, William Tong, what are you going after Doge for? Are you hiding something? Is there money lining your pocket? And putting it, it's not so much as it's a good question to ask. Why is William Tong, the Attorney General, fighting against the auditing of the federal government? Why does he find that and make him respond to that? Don't let him get the lead.
Yeah, I believe that, I put out a release on Friday that did exactly that. And here today, we're finding out about the money being the New York money for illegal aliens is Doge is looking to get to claw that back, which is a beautiful
exactly.
Thing. And so we are pressing on some of these things. I get what you're saying, Reese. The fact of the matter is Republicans are an extreme minority. We are used to reacting to what is happening because the majority moves the agenda. And of course, frankly, the press in this state is no help to us. I put out a press release nearly every day of my life, and I might get a little traction once in a while, but nowhere near the true impact of what I'm trying to create. And it's very demoralizing on occasion. But I've never given up, and I'm thrilled right now that things are starting to take a turn. And I will tell you, I'm in a new role in Senate Republicans where we have a great new leader, and things are definitely changing. I'll give you an example. For the last 5 or 6 years, ever since the Trust Act, which is a big issue, which I'm sure your listeners know about, I've been trying to get House and Senate Republicans to tackle this issue, to bring it out, because I think it is the most demonstrative thing that you can do to show that the Democrats are willing to go against their own constituents and actually protect criminal illegal aliens.
That's right.
I could never get anywhere. Nobody would stand with me. Nobody would talk about it. I was banging the drum by myself for so long. Well, just recently, we actually managed to hold a press conference on that subject where House and Senate Republicans stood next to me. That is a sign that things are definitely changing. We are starting to take it to them, and I think there's a lot more to come. And especially if people like your listeners are willing to stand by our guys and support them instead of questioning all the time. Our Republicans need support right now. They need to know that
they're going to question you because, again, remember, unlike the other party, okay, your constituents are not mind-numb robots, and they're going to hold your feet to the fire. I'll admit, look, in some ways, people believe that Republican Party should act more like Democrats and just be supportive blindly. But I know how conservatives operate. I'm one of those conservatives. We believe in standing for the things that we stand for. And if we see something wrong, we step up and we say something about it. So I hope you understand that it's not meant out of malice. It's just that, look, they disagree and they're quick to speak up. But I want you to hold on.
TIC.
All right, we are back. And, yeah, DMX, man, that was one of my... That was, to this day, I have to tell you, Senator Rob Sampson, that was my best account ever. That taught me public relations in a way that you will never, ever imagine. You have no idea, my friend. Senator Rob Sampson is here, sir. Let's talk about this thing with Bob Duff first. So he is advocating to get books like Genderqueer into public school libraries. Is that the case?
Yes, although he would never admit it. You know, Bob is a lot of things, but I'd say one thing that's foreign to him is the truth. And so he would rather try and convince people and gaslight them to believe that he's, you know, trying to protect free speech and, Huckleberry Finn or some garbage like that, when in fact we know what the issue is, which is that there are some really, really insane books out there promoting the trans agenda and actually contain real pornography. And there are people, parents across the state, and some educators who are saying, no, this stuff does not belong in a library or in a classroom. We're not saying it can't be produced, it can't be sold. We're not banning it. We're just saying material should be age appropriate. But right. Bob, of course, he's trying to twist that around.
Well, when you say he's trying to twist it around, is he saying I'm for genderqueer, but I'm not for genderqueer? Like, we've all seen what's in the book. What I'm asking is this. I would send pages, because they are available online. I would send those pages to the local news, and I don't care who the outlet is. I would send those to the local news with a clip of of Bob Duff promoting those books. I apologize. Promoting those books and say, this is what he wants inside libraries for 12-year-olds. Why don't we ask him if he is for or against it? Because that's what I would send to the news media. I would just simply send this to him and say, you guys aren't talking about a sitting legislator advocating for this book to be available to 12-year-olds. What say you?
Yeah, actually, Reese, to be honest with you, I've done all of that. I've appeared on several television stations in the state. I also was on Newsmax on this subject, and I'll tell you, Carl Higbee is the only one who did it, and he justice, of course. The rest of the news stations, they've cut out the part where I challenged Bob on genderqueer and the actual stuff. They cut it right out. They tried to turn it into something that it was not, about how Bob is out there protecting free speech because he's the righteous one. That's what they do, and it's really sad. In fact, I don't know, I want to inject a lot of off-the-record business, but I've had several conversations with WTNH folks about this exact subject, because the last piece they did on that was a mess. It was terrible. They really showed their bias in a big way, and it's a shame, because I think that, some of the reporters are actually coming around to be more fair, and this is an example where they were not.
Okay, so they just told you that they were going to botch the article on it, in essence, to protect him, and at least shield that from the state, from letting them know exactly what it was that he was promoting.
Exactly. This Thursday, there is a hearing at the state capitol on their bill, which would effectively protect librarians and prevent any parents from being able to make an issue with, what schools do about their books. And we've got to show up there, and we've got to make a case for what this is really about. It's not about Huckleberry Finn. It's about genderqueer. And we got to win the argument. And we've got to win the argument in your press, to your point. And so far, it's been very difficult to get the message out.
Then indict the press.
I couldn't agree more. I can give you another example. My good friend is Manju Gerber, who was the former president of the Hartford chapter of Moms for Liberty. Yeah. She held an event in Avon a couple of years ago. It was an outstanding event with great speakers. James Lindsay, I think, was one of the speakers she had. And a couple hundred people came there to learn about this exact issue and everything else. Well, the Democrats, they came out in full force, and they had maybe 300 or 400 people outside. They brought the news. The news cameras never went inside to find out what we were really talking about. They only repeated the garbage that the people inside wanted to ban books. That's how bad our situation with bias is in the state and what we have to fix.
Wow. Okay, that's a good thing to note. And don't worry, it's not like we didn't know that. Let's talk a little bit about William Tong. So he's running around on social media trying to look like, I don't know, a social media darling. He's putting out these little interesting videos of him walking through the hallways and fighting for justice. He's really funny. He looks so adorable, too. But he's out there talking about all of this stuff that he's going to stop. What's the response from Republicans about what he's doing with Doge, or his, let's just say, his adversarial approach to Doge? What is he saying here?
Again, I only speak for me. I don't speak for the party. And, just to put a pin in that whole conversation, we all want the same thing, Reese. We want to see Republicans in Connecticut fight and win. That's what we want. But they have to fight. So, as far as your listeners go, I love them. I love what they do. I love the fact that they want to hold people accountable. I don't want you to ever think that was not what I was saying before, because I totally do that. I've been doing it from the inside for years. All I'm suggesting is that when they do get it right, they need people to stand by them then, too. Because the problem is we're taking hits in Hartford all day long. And when people are actually doing the right thing and they have the courage to stand up, they need to be reminded that they're doing the right thing so that they stick to it.
It's a good point. So you guys haven't, like, I know this sounds crazy, but someone even asked, like, whether or not you guys have reached out to Doge. But I think Doge is doing, they're working in Washington. I don't think there's a likelihood of bringing something like that to the state of Connecticut. But what do you think, what should be the response here from us and from Republicans in Connecticut when it comes to accountability, or, the federal government, or at least the state government, and accountability? What can we do more of? Can we ask, or can we demand? What can we do here to get more accountability in government in the state of Connecticut?
We need to treat the Democrats with contempt, and we need to hold them accountable in every way, shape, and form. They are making a mockery of Doge, as a matter of fact. This year, the Democrats, in response to Doge, decided to create a new committee at the state level called the Government Oversight Committee. And I've actually been appointed by the Senate Republicans to be the minority chairman or ranking member of that committee. They put two folks on there, including one freshman senator who has zero experience at all. I mean, why would you do that if you were really serious about government oversight? You take somebody who's totally fresh, who has no experience, and put them on that committee. And so far, we've had, maybe 4 or 5 meetings. I just had a meeting with them today. Nothing of any consequence has actually occurred. We had a hearing earlier today about Terrence Chang, who is the leader of the Connecticut university system. Yeah. And you may have seen in the news that he kind of went on a little bit of a spending spree as far as, a lot for meals and travel and things like that beyond what he was supposed to. Mm-hmm. They're patting themselves on the back for calling him into question over it. But that is a drop in the bucket compared to what is happening on a federal level. And the people right in that committee that were going after supposed waste in government spending in Connecticut are upset because Trump apparently has unelected people doing the job. I'm like, we have unelected people doing the job. We have the state auditors. They're the ones that uncovered this. That's what we need, is more people whose responsibility is holding government accountable.
So what's on your docket for the next couple of weeks? I mean, what are you fighting for now, and what do you need help with? If not media-wise, but support from Republicans in the state. What's your focus, or what's the focus of the Republican Party at your level?
Yeah, I mean, I know most of your listeners are probably paying more attention to national politics, and that's just, the way.
Oh, no, they're not. Oh, no, they're not.
I need to get people involved in understanding what is happening at our state capitol, because it's a travesty. I mean, every day I go to a hearing and there's 20 bills on the agenda and there's several hundred people testifying. And we have illegal aliens coming before, sitting right in the Capitol building and testifying, because that's how brazen they are. That's how protected they think that they are. It is very difficult when you're in the minority. You can't really move legislation on your own. All you can do is try and stop theirs. We use our proposals and our policy agenda as a foil. We're going to make you vote on this as an amendment. But it's very difficult unless we have people show up. I can tell you that at a typical labor committee public hearing, there'll be 200 people signed up, and there will be 195 of them will be in favor of expanding labor regulations and punishing businesses in the state. That's got to change. We need people on our side involved.
That's a good point. You know, and again, I've talked about that for a long time. Immigration you brought up, and I think that's another big question here in the state. Of course, you have all of these leaders talking about, you know, they're suing this and standing up for that. There's nothing really that these folks can do. When Tom Homan comes to town, people are going back to their countries, right?
I hope so. And thank heavens, because it's about time. The Connecticut Democrats are bankrupting the state numerous different ways, but illegal immigration is a significant one. I mean, they started, you know, probably 10 or 15 years ago with offering driver's licenses. They're just like putting up a neon sign saying, come to Connecticut. You know, when you cross that border, you know, skip all those other states, come to Connecticut. And, of course, since then, you know, we offer health care. We have kind of a no questions asked for getting other types of state benefits, and it's out of control. And the fact of the matter is we don't even really know the full extent of it. I keep asking the nonpartisan staff that's supposed to do research for us for information, and they're at a loss because we don't track anything. You know, police in this state, they don't track whether or not it was an illegal alien involved in the accident.
I'm noticing that.
Crime committed. You know, so you can't get any information, and they've been very clever about hiding this from the public, but people are catching on. Thank God for the national scene, because that is what's really driving home that we have these problems in our state, too. And to your earlier point before I came on, talking about the Democrats, they are spinning. They are spiraling out of control. I can sense the fear on them. Indeed. But in Connecticut, what's happening is they are doubling down on their craziness. I had a hearing on Friday that went for about 14 hours about a constitutional amendment to enshrine late-term abortions and gender surgery in our Constitution. That's where they are. And we have to expose that because the people of Connecticut don't want that garbage.
And it's funny because you can't get anyone to even expose it. So it's all done under the cover of darkness because you don't even have anyone reporting on how ridiculous this legislation is. So if it happens under the cover of darkness, people are going to wake up tomorrow morning and find out that they're financing gender assignments and late-term abortions, and they're going to wonder how it happened, and then they're not even going to ask why their local media didn't even talk about it. It's insane.
Yeah, the regular news media doesn't report 90% of what happens, and if they do, it's such a slanted version of reality. I encourage people to really dig in, watch CTN once in a while. Hey, contact me. I'll bring you as my guest to the state capitol. I'll show you around, for crying out loud. We need more people involved.
It's so funny because one of our scallywags in the chat room, Tara P., sent me a link today from WFSB covering the Philly police officer that the Hartford mayor was going to bring in as the chief of police, and he ended up withdrawing his name in a week. We knew the week he resigned or pulled his name from the badge that he had some sexual harassment issues going on in Philly where he came from. WFSB just decided to report on that story after the story's over.
Right.
It's like irrelevant now. Like, this isn't breaking news. This is old news. So, yeah, you're right. There is a problem here. And yeah, don't worry. We're going to handle this. So, okay. So, Senator, I really appreciate your time being here, and thank you for letting me know what your issues are and answering the questions that a lot of our viewers have wondered with the Republican Party. And I know it is a collaborative, and I know you feel as if those people and the people who listen to the show who feel like you're not sort of addressing their issues, I like the fact that you at least are talking back to them saying that, look, well, I need you guys' support, and you're not all working together, which is something that I know can be remedied. Because at least if you're all on the same page, something can come of it instead of the sort of infighting. I don't think that infighting is a bad thing. I just don't think that if it isn't collaborative, like every infighting should be collaborative. We all have one goal while we're fixing the issues that we have. Fair?
Yes. Frankly, it's just it's funny that I would ever be considered the person to be the spokesperson for Republicans in Connecticut.
Listen, they make a big deal out of you. They make a big deal out of you, Senator. And remember, look, I say it on this show, I await the hate. You got to learn to accept that, too. Not that you can, or I'm suggesting that you don't. But remember, if they're coming after you, that means it's because you are of value to them. If you weren't, they'd ignore you. You know what I mean?
As long as people know that I'm on the right side of the issues, and I always have been. I mean, this is my issue with the rest of the people in my party, is that they do waver. And I'm the first person to get on your show and tell your callers to get on them. They need to straighten up their act and act like Republicans. Nobody wants to see that more than me. it's just a matter of we've got to make sure that we're actually rowing in the same direction if we're going to get somewhere.
I will tell you this from my heart of hearts. That's the one thing I like about this. And I rag on, Lamont, who's, who'll go on Brian's show, and Murphy and Blumenthal, they'll go on Shackman's show, but they'll never ever come here. But I understand why they won't come here. And again, it's no insult to me. I revel in the fact that they won't come to me. I revel at the fact that they're scared to death to come on this show. So when you guys do, and when any of them do, I applaud you, because at least you come in here and answer the hard questions, and you take it like men and women who actually come on here and answer those tough questions and duke it out, if you will. And then we go in our separate ways or go into our corners and say, thanks for showing up. I appreciate it. So
I'm indebted to you. You're one of the few people getting the message out about what's going on at the state and federal level in politics, and in the truthful way. So it means everything to have your voice out there. So thank you, Reese.
Let them all know. Listen, they've got a platform here. If the rest of them won't show up, let's, like I said, we don't have a lot of support, I guess, in a media sort of scape. But this is one place where we can get the word out. Because trust me, more and more people are listening, even the people on the opposite side, my friend.
Amen.
All right, folks. Senator Rob Sampson, thank you, sir, and I appreciate you. We'll talk to you next time. Let's